This is the RPM Podcast.
Could have gotten it right for the first time ever in this whorehouse of a town. But you tore it to shreds. You replaced it with cleavage and fart jokes.
Eric, no gag reflex, Brennan.
I always wanted to keep my women and my racing separate. It's not a sexist thing. I don't need Miss Red Cups and Miss Coors Lights and all that. I don't need that.
Eric,
Bump and splats.
Graham,
You get your skirt dirty, it's a bad thing.
Sam Ballard Jr. I like dirty skirt, Nick Rendo,
Longer, lower, wider.
and Josh Matthews. That's also because of the bumps. Yeah, it was clean, and he wore gloves. Okay, I have pictures.
I remember that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your regularly scheduled programming of the RPM Podcast, fresh off our live show at the Chapter House Bar and Grill.
It's not regularly scheduled. This is a Tuesday.
Well, it's somewhat regularly scheduled.
All right, well, yeah, it would be our normal weekly.
My mouse died.
Oh, the poor thing.
I meant my computer mouse. It's great to be here. In fact, we got the band back together for the most part. Across from me, of course, we have Josh Matthews on the boards.
What's up?
Next to him, the man who was unable to make the live show, but you were definitely there in spirit, Sam Ballard Jr.
I appreciate that.
He was
And-
making food elsewhere.
Our T-shirt concierge and Penny Vodka,
I was thinking that.
Penny Vodka expert,
Yeah.
My God.
Nick Rendo.
How was that water?
The water was great. It was
Okay.
really good. Shout out to I don't know your name, but whoever got it for me, I really appreciate it.
The Bud
Budweiser girl.
She was great.
Because I think that's all she can get you is water.
Yeah, not 21 yet.
So, Nick, do you like the penna?
penne,
Penna?
al dente penne is very good. Penne. Why'd you just do that to me?
I like
Nick's
throwing you
I
off.
brain
really
just
thought it was a
froze.
sandwich. I thought it was a sandwich that she was handing me because I've never seen it with the bread on the plate like that. So I only saw it from that angle and it was at eye level and I was like, I didn't get a
And
sandwich.
the problem is that was like
I was going to
course-
take the sandwich anyway. Like it didn't matter.
That was like course 1 of 7 is the problem.
If you don't
Yeah.
know what Nick is
It
referring
was
to,
really,
just
really
simply
cool.
go to the RPM
YouTube.
Podcast YouTube channel, and you can watch the live show, which we put together at the Chapter House for the Geico 500 at Talladega. And before we talk about that whole thing, we do have a couple thank yous we want to hand out right off the bat, just a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, Jeff Lane, who has been putting these parties on at the Chapter House Bar and Grill for the last couple of years. The entire Chapter House staff, especially Paul, because Paul just appears to be so on board with what we're able to do there. The guys that we had on the show, Joey Bailey, TQ Midget driver, JC Duvall, new 4-cylinder driver, Chad Barney, dirt modify racer at New Egypt Speedway, Blake Barney, asphalt modify racer at Wall Stadium Speedway.
No
And
relation,
then-
right?
No, they are related.
Oh,
in
they
fact.
are?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And then also we had the big wreck on the red flag, and we pulled Jason Hearn out of the crowd, and he did an interview for us as well. If you missed any of that, just simply go to the YouTube channel. You can check it all out there, and I promise you it was such a good time that once you watch, you will want to know when we are going to do it next. And I promise you there will be a next time.
Oh, and shame on Nick Shaw for not coming on.
Nick was there.
He was there, and we all talked to him. He just wouldn't talk on the show.
Yeah, he
So,
said he's more of a behind-the-scenes type guy.
Get well soon, buddy.
But it was great. And Sam, we missed having you there.
You know, college is not cheap, so. And the
What corner
401k
was
that
it?
I have here.
Well, yeah.
It was we're 35 and New
All
Holmes
right, yeah.
Road meet.
Okay.
You can't miss it. It's big and white.
No,
on
you
that
could
note-
definitely miss it.
Well, it's funny because the Jersey Mike's I work at actually is white, like on the outside.
really.
Wait, what town is it in again? Because
Middletown.
because I every time I pass one, I'm like, I wonder if that's the one that Sam works. But usually, I'm like in.
He thinks New Jersey is like one small town.
Yeah, like it's, I don't
That's
know.
how
It's-
Brennan views
It
it.
kind of is, though.
You know what? We're gonna surprise him one day.
We're just gonna roll up.
Please
Yeah.
don't.
I don't need subs though.
You know who we're gonna grab? Nick Ballard.
what? Oh my! I think Nick Ballard's gonna grab us.
You're
He's gonna
right.
be wearing a security shirt. He'll just round us up, and that'll be it.
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
Where does he
moving
work
on.
security at?
Wall Stadium Speedway.
And we raced at Wall Stadium this weekend.
In fact, we
Did
did.
you?
And you know what? I'll tell you, there's been something going on with the weather and Saturdays lately because it just seemed like it was not going to happen when we rolled out of bed on Saturday morning because the forecast just did not look that promising. In fact, New Egypt Speedway had to cancel their show because of rain prior and flooding events, and New Egypt's just getting killed.
New Egypt's a pond now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. it absolutely was. And I mean, if they would have got their show in, we talked to Pete McDonald last week on the program. You know, it would have been nice to know how things are kind of transitioning there. And if you look at the forecast for this Saturday, it doesn't look that good at all either. But Wall happened to get lucky. I mean, there were a couple pop-up showers that showed. In fact, we had a couple of sprinkles fall right as we got the
Which
freehold floor
I actually
modifieds on
felt
the track.
because I was there.
Yeah, it was nice to have you at the
Yeah, I
track,
know.
Nick. How was it?
Great. You guys took care of me so well.
Hell
And thank you for
froze
saying my
over.
name on the PA system.
Well, you took care of us. You were there doing us a favor filming, so
True,
we
true.
appreciate
It
it.
was fun.
It was good to have you there.
Felt good to be there. I haven't been there in a while.
By the way, I'm giving you the death stare right now.
Well,
yeah.
once we ended up getting the modifieds on the track and the rain started to fall, we shifted gears a little bit. But the modified
what the gears?
feature shifted.
Okay.
Did I say something different?
It sounded like you.
We'll have to check that in post production just to make sure. Modified race, probably one just start to finish, one of the coolest, tightest races that I've seen at Wall in quite some
Which
time.
had two starts.
Yeah, they really did. And I'll tell you what, Stephen Reed, who's not only a friend of us, a friend of the program, and also a sponsor with SR Fabrication of the program, he uploads his GoPro footage every week. And I Stephen, I'm sorry, I'll get the correct YouTube name. That way I don't steer people in the wrong direction.
What does he have, like a different YouTube channels?
No, it's actually he texted it to me, so let me see. But no, because I don't want to say Stephen Reed, and then they go on and it's some guy who like prepares salads or something. You know, like you don't. I want it to be like the legit thing. But anyway, he uploads the footage after his modify races of like it's a really cool camera angle too. It's like where the passenger would be sitting in his car. It's really neat. A few laps in, Jimmy Blewett got into the back of Steven and kicked him sideways. Steven only lost 2 spots, where if it was me, I would have lost an entire car and racing career. Because I don't know.
And fire suit and underwear.
Yeah, I don't know how he saved that thing. It was probably one of the best saves in a modified that I've seen in quite a while. I mean, it was really he was sideways throughout the entire first and second corner. Once he got back in line, Blewett got by him already for the race lead. Shannon Monjo got up to second in the new LFR chassis. Only the second race they've entered that thing as a modified at Wall. And Blewett never looked back. It was his second win in a row, second to start off the season. And it looks as though Jimmy's going to be on a full-fledged assault to this modified championship. However, now that we have a couple races under our belt and the handicapping system will come into play, and it will kind of impact the way the starting lineup is set, we might be seeing Jimmy have to work his way through traffic a little bit more often than we have since we time trialed the last 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the race where you were. Sam, you were kind of busy. Nick.
Saw every angle.
Sadly, I didn't. I think I asked you or my cousin Eric was like, "Who won the modify race?" By the way,
Yeah. It ended up, the top 3 ended up being the running order that we recounted once Steven caught the car. It was Blewett, Monjo, Reed, Adam LaCicero with a beautiful looking number 27 car he brought to the
Good
track for
looking
the
car.
first time this year. And Derek Hopkinson got himself a top 5 as well.
Terrible to see that accident. It took out almost half the field. For
Yeah,
God's sakes.
right about the opening lap or right after the conclusion of lap 1 on the back straightaway, Shauna Ingram may
Yeah.
have made contact with Adam LaCicero. and it
What car
kinda,
was she in?
The number 9.
Okay.
It
She
kind
definitely
of
got the most
sent her
damage
up.
out of everybody.
Yeah, and Andrew Crouch just got speared when she came back across the track, and then everybody just kind of piled in after the fact. We also understand our buddy Ricky Collins may have banged up his thumb a little bit. I saw a picture with him playing with one of his relatives, and he had it bandaged up, and so that's why we didn't see him at Chapter House Sunday. So, Ricky, we hope you're feeling better. Been an awkward start to the year.
I gotta tell you, I was up there with the spotters, and after that accident, there was like, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 spotters up there after the accident. There was like 2 left, and I was like, oh boy.
you're probably like, "Thank God."
No, that's not what I was like. Felt bad.
Now,
Elbow room.
Yeah.
also on the docket for excuse me, for that night's card, as we were kind of celebrating Cinco de Mayo at Wall, was the Snap-on Tools Sports Division. And Dominic Fataruso, who's become a friend of mine, over the last couple of weeks and has been real supportive over a number of things that I've had going on. He went on vacation, pre-planned trip to Mexico for a friend's wedding. In fact, I caught up with him before he got in the car. They redid the entire car in the off-season. And he was telling me about the trials and tribulations of being away, which, it's some of the stories were just great. But it was his first time in the car. Now, remember, the Sportsmen were coming off a pretty rough opening night. There's an ant on the table, and it's distracting
Whoa.
me.
I actually just killed one before. Way to flick it on me.
Now animal control is going to crawl up.
Jeez.
This is live radio, folks. This is what happens.
Oh.
So Fataruso got himself back in the car for the first time. In fact, I think he was the fast timer. Or actually, I got to look it back up. But he ran very well in time trials. Worked his way to the front, didn't look back, grabbed the win in a 25-lap Sportsman feature. That was over Tyler Truex, who ran very well after making another trip up North Carolina to run here. Opening night winner Kevin Davison was third. Robbie Walton continues a solid start to the season with a fourth-place finish. And Mike Carr, the veteran, rounded out the top 5. Factory Stock, Joey Helbert got the win. Legend Cars, Louis Carritis, defending champion, got the win. And the TQ event, Ryan Tidman ended up winning that one, snapping Buddy Slode's 2-race win streak. And our buddy Joey Bailey finished second after the heartbreak that he had in the first TQ race there back on what was our opening night, their second race of the year. It was a good week.
Yeah, 2 amazing finishes. 2 top races. Really, really good.
Speaking of which, Scott Riggleman finished second in the factory stock feature. He and his wife, fellow racer Nancy Riggleman, happened to show up at the ARC Saturday night while I was there helping to set up for my friend Craig Daniel, a musician who was playing at the ARC that night. We rented the speakers for our live show from him. So I saw him, John Bowers, Tony Bartone, and then another couple that I worked a wedding for a few years ago. So all of a sudden, I was just trying to pick up the speakers, and 6 people I know walk in, and
Would you just sit at every table a little bit?
Well,
Divide yourself up?
I sat with all the racers for the most
Okay,
part,
yeah.
and I spoke with the other guys for a few. I pulled a Brandon, disappeared, and talked to the others for a couple minutes. But
I
it was
butterfly.
Cool. Yes, you do.
I'm a social butterfly. I like to bounce around and do all sorts of stuff there.
Hey, Josh, I'm going to stick around and help you clean up. Ooh, hey, look, a person. I'm going to.
By the way, I said I would do this earlier. Stephen Reed's YouTube channel, it's Steve Reed. Just Steve space Reed.
That is exciting.
Just saying, if you want to go check it out, just look at it. The GoPro footage is great.
Let me just move Shaquana. Yeah, I got to write that down.
Anyway,
said
it was
her
a
name so well.
fantastic weekend, especially for Wall Stadium, because like you said, Eric, the weather was not looking promising, and we actually managed to get the whole show in, and we finished relatively early too.
Now, for this weekend, we are slated to have a Mother's Day special, again, weather permitting. This is sponsored by John Gasco and Son Farm and Greenhouse, located in Monroe, New Jersey. If you bring mom or grandma to the races for a fun night out, all moms enjoy $3 off admission ticket and free flowers. So I could bring mom to the track and save money on flowers. That's genius. 304 Modifieds, Elite Maintenance Limited late model scheduled to run twin races. The O'Shea Auto Repair Factory stocks, the Surfside 4-cylinder division, and the Green Flag Driving Experience Legend cars are on the docket. And that leads me to my next local related topic. And again, with New Egypt, not having much to talk about there with the rainouts, and we're going to continue to hope and pray that they end up being in a good enough position to not rain out continuously, which, according to our friend Jim Murdoch, he doesn't think they're ever going to get a race in because it just doesn't look so good as of now in terms of the weather. But
He's not a weatherman.
So he's passionate about it. You got to give him that. Plus, he's closer
Agree
to
to
bunch of
disagree.
them. So with the Legend Car division at Wall, report came out today that it seems like INEX, who is the governing body of the Legend Car division, appears to be going in the direction of wanting to allow two-way radio communication, which would open up the door for spotters in the Legend Car ranks.
We should bring them to a sportsman race at Wall Stadium and show them
Oh.
how well two.
I was thinking about this on Saturday. I now know why you turn on the lights whenever we say sportsman.
Whatever. Oh,
I get it now.
well,
I really get
that
it.
was a relatively good
Okay,
sportsman.
we were on lap 1 for like 35 minutes.
race. but it wasn't.
I
that-
get it,
wasn't
Josh.
that
In my head, I
bad.
kept hearing yellow, turn 2, yellow.
It
I
wasn't-
had the sound bite.
We should get you
can't
a
argue that.
receiver when you do that. Just so you, I mean, actually, I promise you, it's another world. That's why I was trying to include that in my videos with the factory stocks. So I mean, you, aside from just the in car and from the grandstands, you would get Brennan's amazing voice
Yeah, it's great.
from the radio broadcast, and then you have that jerk Eric Graham voice on the receiver also in there.
All jokes aside here, and I know we have a lot of sportsman drivers that actually listen to our show. Granted, they do make a lot of mistakes. It's a very talented group of drivers. In the
They're
sportsman
good
division.
drivers. I mean, it's. Well, we had that whole conversation with Stephen Reed. I don't think you were. No, it was just me, Brennan, and Stephen here, and we talked about that and about how the power of the cars, the size of the tires, the tire compound. There's a bunch of different things, and then a few guys get a little too excited or make a mistake, and things happen. But it's what I tease is just beyond the Wall Stadium Sportsman Division. Is anywhere I go, as soon as they call it a Sportsman Division, it seems like they're piled up and flipping over on lap one.
What was the lap 1 incident that happened this weekend?
No, that was last weekend.
No.
And that was at Bridgeport.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about this weekend at Wall.
Or no, I'm sorry. I was thinking.
I thought it was a relatively
Grandview.
good race. I know it was the last race of the night.
No, it was a great race. Yeah.
There was
Great finish and
a
everything.
lot of stuff that was going on. It's I just don't honestly I don't remember. The chapter house just kind of took over my concentration for the weekend for the most part. So
Because really, once you finish Saturday night, everything, all focus had to shift towards Sunday, getting there, setting
Absolutely.
up, and all that, and
We
then
had to divert all this drive, this desire, this passion.
and then we're back here again. 2 days later.
now back to the Legend Card discussion briefly. So this is from
This is a
NX.
terrible idea.
So it's from NX. This is what they're saying. Effective immediately, USLCI will be allowing two-way radio communication between competitors and teams in all USLCI divisions. Our partners at Racing Electronics will be offering the NX Special to all of our competitors. The special will include
Will it be inexpensive?
well, the special will include two Motorola
That was-
two-way
come
radios,
on.
a helmet kit, a headset, and a Solo, it looks like Solo 3, one-way receiver. Please note that this update is not mandatory. The rule will favor the mirror rule. Participation will differ based on each track's specific rules.
So, Eric, for those listeners who don't understand, can you go and explain this real quick?
I got dumped.
So the way that NX usually works, with especially with the Legend Card division, is it's like an entry level division, and I forget, it might have been Joey Bailey. I think I was telling somebody that and this NX controls the Legend Car ranks and a couple other divisions like Bandoleros, and they used to have Thunder Roadsters back in the day, although they're not as popular. It's like a national governing body to try to make things fair. The problem is, in my opinion, this is off the record, just purely opinion based. NX is probably as corrupt as the International Olympic Committee because the rules don't make a whole lot of sense. And depending on what track you compete at, it's hard to try to judge how fair the rules are. And there's a lot of gray area. And apparently some people could buy success in the Legend Card division. So I don't know how it necessarily works.
Well,
But-
I think any division you can get outspent,
Right. But
and that
But
does.
you buy the parts from NX licensed and allowed dealers, and some of the dealers are allowed or they just elect to do things differently. And it's the intent is there and it's good, but sometimes it's not always pure and
So
genuine.
the two-way radio would
So-
allow the drivers to talk to their crews or a
Right.
spotter
or
per
a
se.
spotter. Whereas now they were operating under a one-way radio system just from the officials, from the scoring tower per se,
Now,
to the drivers.
why do you think that's a bad idea? Oh,
No, go ahead,
did
Josh.
You, say,
You
I'm
go
sorry.
first,
I
Josh,
knew one of
and
you
I-
guys.
I'm
on that
the
side of
one
the
that
table.
said this is a terrible idea.
Oh, I think
before.
you said it was bad too. Okay,
I did
yeah.
too.
Okay, yeah.
And I think some of what I'm going to bring up, Sam will agree with me on, which is going to be rare. Part of it is expense because now there's more stuff to buy. Which
Right, and it's
I mean, you're
mandatory.
talking about a spec division, and like I said, yeah, you can get outspent. I mean, in factory stocks, you can get outspent. People go to a motor builder, or they can just afford more tires, regardless of the tire bank. So you're talking about spending more for the radio equipment, spending more because you're going to have to either find someone who is kind-hearted enough to actually be there for you every week to spot for you, or you have to pay somebody to do it.
Okay.
And
Well,
then it doesn't.
So if you don't have those things, you're not racing. Well.
yeah.
Well, you just don't have a spotter.
Then you have to run without it, or
Right.
you can't afford it.
Figure out the
Or
extreme
here's
difference
another
between
issue: the spotters. You have good ones and you have bad ones, and if you have a bad spotter or a guy like, oh, I go to the races all the time, that doesn't mean they understand what's going on out there. They can tell when a car's spinning or okay, he's slotted. That's fine, but to know how the cars are going to move, how they're going to transition coming
Because
up.
you have to be 3
There-
seconds ahead of
there's
what's
a
going
few-
on the
Yeah,
track.
yeah, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have
So
to,
if they
absolutely.
don't know,
Yeah.
if they can be a terrible spotter, and then they're going to say you're clear and you're not, or vice versa, and
Definitely.
you can lose.
Or if the guy's a huge run, it's like you're clear at that moment.
There,
but-
we have guys at the track at Wall who, depending on who they have spotting for them, finish either really well or end up in a pileup.
Oh god.
And it seems to depend almost solely
true.
on the spotter.
Well,
true.
So I mean, you're trying to put more people into it, and then it's just you're adding more things that can go wrong into the system. And there are times that here's the thing: if they're good on the receiver, like Eric Graham has been, saying yellow and what turn it's in, and letting people know.
But you don't need a spotter.
But yeah, that's over the one way. It's just saying where the wreck is. That's all you really need to know. All right, I'm going to slow down now because I'm not going to go flying into turn 3, whatever it is. But the spotter can tell you that. That's great, but you already had that if you had good people on the receiver or on the one-way radio. You're just adding more things that can go wrong into a system, making things. I don't want to say more competitive, because I just think you're going to end up tearing up more stuff.
Well, a couple things I want to clear up here. First of all, my stance on legend car racing, I think it's a great thing, and I think it's a great concept. I just think it's not really policed or controlled as well as it could be. And for the tracks, a lot of them are held hostage by INX rules. The point system's usually one of the variables that they're allowed to change based on track rules, and that's why INX made it very clear when they released this statement about the two-way radios that it's not mandatory. And in fact, there are some tracks already who have said that they will continue to ban two-way radios in the legend car divisions at their respective tracks. So far as I'm concerned, there has been nothing said about Wall Stadium Speedway, but once we know, we will pass that along to you. Now, with that being said, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Josh, if I was going to give a counter argument to the point about spotters
Let's
and
hear
experience,
it.
I mean, a spotter has to start somewhere as well. I mean, so this kind of, to me, if you want to be a spotter when you get older, maybe you could start working for a legend car team. But
I
don't
disagree.
necessarily know if this is the right pathway, considering the fact that I don't think a legend car is one division where you necessarily need a spotter. I mean, they kind of sit in the center of the car, and you should
your
have
view isn't the best,
right?
We should have had Robert French on the show this week.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
What a guy.
I'm curious of what guys like him or Vinny Troyer or people who compete in the legend car division. I mean, and Robert got actually that's
Yeah.
a really good story, Sam. Robert had a problem with his regular number 98 car
Jumped
with the
in
motor
29.
in practice. He was originally going to get in Chris Gall's car. Then Peter Bruno offered to give up his seat, so Gall elected to race his machine. And
El Yaris IA tiene de todo.
Oh, I don't know where that came
I'm
from.
very confused. So Gall elected to.
I was trying to post something to one of our message boards, and apparently it had an advertisement in the background. So sorry about that, guys. I'm just
That's
keeping
how you
you on
know
your
we
toes.
don't piecemeal this whole thing together. Like we just kind of go and it comes out whatever way it comes out. But French ended up finishing second in a borrowed ride that he never drove before, at least in competition. In fact, he told me that was the first time that he ever really raced somebody else's car on a Saturday night. He's practiced before. He's helped people try to figure out how their cars are handling, but he never raced another car that was not the family race car before last Saturday, and he finished second.
But if you know the setup, that does help because he's familiar with it is a spec division, and I know the cars are a little bit different, body styles and all that. But if you can have a rough idea for where you want to start with your tire pressures and springs and all that, that's good. And then you can make some adjustments after practice. So there's a little bit with the knowledge into that, and then there's also a huge part of just being a damn good driver.
Right, which is
And
something.
that's, I think, was probably one of the main factors. But even in a borrowed ride, if you do it right, it's not impossible to do what he did. But it does deserve a lot of respect.
My opinion about all this, and to go back on it real quick, is Eric, I 100% agree with you. I think that's the only good thing that's going to come from this is the fact that everyone has to start somewhere. I mean, i.e. me. I mean, I didn't think 5 years ago I was ever thinking about making a career out of motorsports, but this opportunity popped up 3 years ago, and now look where it led me.
Okay, but couldn't someone who's interested in becoming a spotter basically grab a second headset and just kind of follow in and listen to? Say you have a good seasoned spotter, Tim Riggleman, for example, spots for Jimmy Blewett a lot of the time. Just overall, I mean, he has essentially a lot of wins under his belt as a spotter, and say, hey, get involved with a team and listen in on what's going on. I mean, Eric, how did you learn some of your announcing stuff? I mean, was it watching a lot of different sports and races and trying to just take in?
But I did. But
I'm not saying don't practice.
No. I'm saying, what a lot of people may not know is I actually did work as a spotter for a late model team for a year in 2011.
I didn't even know
I
this.
didn't know that. Wow.
Really? I never told.
I know it.
Yeah, I remember telling
for
Sam.
real,
No, it was a quarter midget racer based out of Jersey City, New Jersey, who elected to. They want to go big. They want to make a rather large leap from a quarter midget. So they bought an American Canadian Tour late model, which will tie into something we're going to talk about in a little bit. But we ended up jumping up to Lee Speedway for the season opener for ACT, the American Canadian Tour, and it was my first time as a spotter. And then after some struggles, they were actually referred to perhaps run at Oxford, Maine every week. So we made about 6 to 8 trips to Oxford throughout the summer months, and I felt like that I had a great rhythm with my driver, and I think I got him out of every wreck that was in front of him. I couldn't help him with the ones that he may have started, but it's not. But there's not. There's not a lot that you could do in that type of situation, but there's a first time for everything. In fact, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last night, and she was telling me how when you're like a nurse. Like it's like the old George Carlin joke, like somebody out there in this world through process of elimination is the worst doctor. Well, every nurse and every doctor has to start on their first patient somehow. You have to draw blood from your first victim. That day is going to come. So for a spotter, your first time is going to come eventually. So maybe the silver lining to this whole thing is this legend car rule, but I don't know.
From a personal standpoint, Josh, I agree with you, but you can only really learn so much about watching someone else handle a situation until you're actually thrown in the situation.
What about now? I'm just going to throw this out there: having somebody else spot during a practice where the cars are generally trying to stay away from each other.
But if you're
I
a
agree
driver,
with
do
you,
you
but
really
come
want to
on.
waste your practice time
Yeah,
building
exactly.
a relationship with somebody who's not going to be on
No,
your team?
you just go out and practice and let him do whatever he's doing.
But that-
and you just have him in your ear. That's all.
But that's the huge thing, though, the chemistry that a driver needs with his crew chief and especially spotter.
But I think what it boils down
So
and that's the
big.
thing.
Or their other podcast hosts.
So, like Sam, I think we're on the same page.
Now, I'm having a
This is
night
fantastic.
here. Yeah.
Sam, I think we're on the same page. I don't really think you need to have two-way radios in a legend car division at any track.
No, from what I wanted to say earlier was quickly, as an official standpoint, the divisions at Wall that have two-way radios seems to be an issue, and not just getting in the way of the driver and the receiver, which is more, in my opinion, having the receiver in the driver's ear is way more important than having a spotter. I know a lot of teams and drivers are out there going to be like, Sam, you don't know what you're talking about, but
I'm with Sam.
I've seen a lot of problems.
I will actually, not just for the sake of conversation and for the sake of your entertainment at home
I'm
listening,
already with Eric.
I will
I love you,
disagree.
man.
If I'm now, granted, and
I'm going to build a wall
okay,
on
okay.
this table, and you're going to pay for it.
I know
believe me.
I know what will end this conversation. You're not the one that has to go and explain to them in the pits why they were black flag because they're not listening.
I'll create your hypothetical situation. The four of us are in our own little race. Josh and Sam won't stop beating the hell out of each other. And
Eric's in the back getting lapped.
no, just for the sake of arguments, you guys are racing for 9th place. Nick and I are trying to figure out who's going to win the thing, and we're trying to race for the lead. Do I really want to hear the official in my ear say, "Hey,
No.
car 57, car 22, knock it off"? I don't want to. That's like I remember.
You know a lot about driving.
No, well, I'm just because I
telling you.
remember there was an IndyCar race at Chicagoland, like the mid 2000s, and they were practicing. And apparently during practice, then series director Brian Barnhart got on the radio and started screaming for drivers to knock it off while they're running 3 abreast at 220 miles an hour. So now and that was straight to the drivers. That was not to the crews. That was straight in the driver's ear.
So are
at
you
220
saying
miles an hour? And I believe Thomas Schechter and Scott Dixon came into the pit area and confronted Barnhart and said, "What the hell are you thinking?"
But then again, it comes down to how you communicate well with the drivers. You don't do that. A good official on the radio knows what to say, when to say it, how to say it.
Oh, Mr. Cotter.
Go ahead, Josh.
How out of everyone at this table, who here has raced with the receiver in their ear?
I did once, just once.
In a mechanics race, right?
Yes.
It
Okay.
was just me and my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, God.
So
Might change.
I don't want to know what those were.
That's dangerous. Nick.
Well, I'm actually writing a book on them. That will definitely
Okay, go ahead, Josh.
It wouldn't be an RPF podcast without shameless self-promotion from Nick Rendo. I love it.
I'm serious.
It's going to be written entirely in gold Sharpie.
We will.
So not to be cocky here, but I think I'm the most qualified to say what it's like about what he was saying about having an official in your ear in the middle of a race. And honestly,
Let's not use names.
no, it's not even about that. I'm just saying, I've been in the middle of fighting with somebody on the track, and you're getting something yelled in the ear, and whoever has to move over, or somebody's getting black flagged, or won't pick a lane, etc. It's fine. Trust me, it's fine. Yeah, it may not be the best thing, but it's fine.
But I would just think that, like, and again, this is kind of just for the sake of discussion. I mean, I'm not.
What, are you
I'm
Kimi
not saying
Räikkönen
that
all
one
of
of
a
these
sudden?
things
Leave me
are right or
alone.
wrong. No, but I can understand in some of the top in the higher divisions like Sportsman or Modified, where if I'm the spotter for you, for you, Josh, if I'm your spotter for that
Okay.
race and I'm wearing the receiver as well, if the tower is telling a car that is 8 spots further behind us to knock it off, I don't need to relay that information to you. I need you to know what's going on. With you.
I agree that you don't need to relate it, but at the same time, when I hear, so name, pick some car numbers, knock it off or whatever, or I know that something's going on with them, so that way I know if I come around to lap them to be careful because they've been beating on each other or doing
Fair
something
enough.
stupid.
That's
So,
good. That's a good point. I
I like
didn't
to
think of that.
know
Yeah,
what
but
else is going on
Your
around me.
personal spotter would tell you that.
No, but Nick Rendo, please.
That would be his
But
job.
yeah, but I mean, I guess.
But
like-
the issue is,
Like, what about when Clint Boyer's spotter's like, all right, man, just be careful. He's on the bottom. It looks like he's looking for you. And then
But-
Jeff's spotter helped him out so much. He's like, all right, 5,
we're
4,
back
3.
to
Here
this.
he is. Wreck him, wreck him, wreck him. And then Jeff
Nick.
hit him square on. It was
But you got to
great.
remember though, this is different, and the spotters pick and choose what the drivers they want to hear, and a lot of
And if the spotter misses it and doesn't relay it, because we've had that problem before where they're trying to yell to whatever car that he's black flagged or he's leaking, so they
Exactly.
want to check him.
Exactly.
And the spotter's like, duh, not paying attention.
Or he just chooses not to tell them, which I mean that's a problem.
which is
but
10 chances to 1. The
yeah, like nine
I-
times out
either-
of 10. Yeah. that-
Either way,
10 chances to 1
every
every 10 times.
Why-
those are some
Why
interesting
would you
odds.
not
one
tell
time.
him? Because then he's going to be disqualified anyway.
I mean, I'm interested to see where some of the local tracks go with this. I mean, obviously, Wall Stadium has a Legend Car division, so we'll have to see what their decision is on this. Riverhead Raceway, another track to consider. They usually get a huge Legend Car count out there at Riverhead Raceway, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it just yet.
But hey, look at
This
this.
turned into a really fun discussion.
We just
by
spent
the way.
we spent a half an hour talking about legends. This is fantastic.
And-
this is what the RPM podcast is all about.
Exactly, and I mean that's what it really comes down to. Speaking of Legend Cars, I saw that Tony Calandro, Champ Car driver, had a vicious flip at Riverhead in a Legend Car. Which I've used this quote. It's one of those like get a Legend Car. They said it would be fun. They said, and then they just show him rolling down the front straightaway at Riverhead Raceway, who opened up their season.
Was there video of that?
There is, it
I'll
is out
see
there.
if I can share
And
it on the page.
And it wasn't from Tony's car. Somebody shot it from the grandstand, and it was pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie. Also, speaking of Riverhead Raceway, and Sam, you pointed this out to me also, Max Zakum ended up getting I believe it was his first ever NASCAR Tour Type Modified win at Riverhead, driving for a well-known racer out there as well, in what they consider to be a home-built chassis. And Max, who came oh so close to winning his first ever NASCAR Tour Modified race, not about last season, finally got himself a checkered flag and a trophy out of Riverhead. So that's really cool. That's I guess no.
My bad.
I
I'm
don't
trying
know
to find out more information on the NX thing, and their official website seems to be linked to their Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Racing Podcast NJ.
Smooth, Sam. Smooth.
That's why you guys pay me the big bucks.
We're looking into getting a website too.
I love how he said that. Well, that'll pretty much do it for this little local foray that we just took. And again, if anybody's interested, Riverhead, Bridgeport, we got Pete McDonald in New Egypt, but we're always looking for more voices to talk to. If you want to weigh in on some of the stuff that we talked about, maybe if you're a Legend Car driver, not just at Wall, but at some other tracks, let us know. We'll have you come
And
on.
you think
tell
that
us what
we
you think.
know nothing that we're talking about, please feel free.
If you think I know everything, please feel free. Let
By
me
the
know.
way, $1,000 it costs for two-way radios here on the NX website, and that's cheap.
That's not bad, I guess. I wouldn't pay
Yeah,
for it.
if you, if
Just
you,
to hear Nick Rendo in
work
my
in
ear,
New
no
York.
thanks.
I'd rather stick with my iPhone 7 earbuds that come for free with my phone. My goodness. When we come back, we'll tell you everything that happened at Talladega. I want to talk about the Carl Long news. I didn't break that to you guys yet, but we'll go over that as well. And I'm sure Nick will find something Formula One related to talk about. And
we'll do a little
bring up-
Barcelona prep. The water looks great this weekend.
and a crazy finish in the dirt bike world that I want to bring up to you guys as well. We'll be right back to the RPM podcast. Don't go anywhere. So.
Got a question you want answered? Email us at racingpodcastnj@gmail.com.
Welcome back to RPM Podcast.
It is. I'm telling you. Welcome back to the RPM podcast. Josh Matthews, Sam Ballard Jr., Nicholas Rendo here after a smoking hot opening segment. What do you think I was going to say, Nick? You thought I was going somewhere. You know we were about to talk about Lenny. didn't you?
What did you name her?
Apparently Lenny. I don't know.
Thank you
Tell
for
you,
still
man.
tuning in, folks. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks to Sam's suggestion, we like to talk about some of that local stuff, so hopefully we hooked you and kept you long enough.
By the way, hi, Roger from Wall. Roger complimented the show.
Roger Nickerson.
He did.
The Legend Car driver. Happy belated birthday, by
He
the
has
way.
a painting service, does he not?
Fun
does.
fact, yeah, him and I share a birthday, too.
Do you guys really?
We do.
That means he shares one with Nick and Eric
Tom.
and Tom.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
But Sam's a quad.
Anyway, hi,
folks.
Roger, and
Literally
thank you
a
for listening.
quadruple.
And if you're still listening to the show, thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Now,
I just wanted to say, hey, I'll give you one free ride with this painting service. We're plugging that, and from here on out, you have to pay.
oh, that's okay. I thought you meant like a free ride in the race car. I was like, he already has one. You know. So we were at the Chapter House for Talladega. Now, if you want any insight leading up to that race or the brief amount of time that we talked about the ARCA race or the Xfinity race, which Eric Almirola won on the ARCA side, it was Justin Haley who got the win there.
Almirola also got the Stage 1 win, right?
At Talladega on the Cup side, I believe so.
No, Xfinity, I believe.
Oh, he
I have
did?
here. Yeah, and then Allgaier got the second stage. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about the Ryan Reed wreck. They said Almirola took the blame. Like, I'm sorry, I was just trying to give him a push. Watching that wreck, it really looked like Reed lost it on his own.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it. Again, weekend's a blur. But if you want full coverage of that, again, just go to the RPM podcast YouTube page. You can check all that out leading us up to the actual Cup Series race, which we're going to talk about
Or
now.
you can listen to it.
And there's a whole bunch of other
Download it, take it
interviews
with
and stuff there because we are available on iTunes as well. Now,
Oh, yeah, we fixed our iTunes, by the way. I know some people might have had some trouble searching for it because the label was kind of weird, but it is just RPM Podcast. Look for our logo, done by Sam Ballard here. Excellent work on that. I think he's going to paint another one now. I don't know.
I'm trying to make the show look professional. You guys make it sound decent.
you're part of that too,
decent,
brother.
thanks.
You're part of that too.
Love you, man.
Hold on.
right
What
here.
the hell does that mean?
Hell yeah.
Now, on the Cup side, briefly, we had the big wreck with about 19 laps to go involving Chase Elliott and A.J. Allmendinger in a race for second. Elliott's car ended up getting hit, kind of going airborne for quite some time, coming back down on the wall, while Allmendinger got pole vaulted over on his side after
That
being hit by
owl
Joe
flew,
Logano.
man.
That was one of the most bizarre
Thank you,
big
Josh.
wrecks I've ever seen in Talladega. I mean,
Thank you,
like,
Josh.
it's not often you see two cars get, in the state of acrobatics or anything, but it was rather weird. And
You're
that-
weird.
I am.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the only big wreck they had of the day. I mean, Ryan Blaney got taken out in a single car
Are you
wreck.
complaining about this?
No, I'm just saying that was the wow moment that took out a lot of contenders, including Truex and Bain.
I thought
and
the
a bunch
wow
of
moment
others.
was like the 180 laps, however long it
wanna
was,
talk
and it
about
was
I thought the
fantastic
wow
racing.
moment was Stenhouse crossed the line first.
I thought the wow moment was when Junior avoided 3 cars literally coming towards
In
it was
that wreck, yes, that was-
insane,
Okay, all right, all right.
insane. And then he also avoided Ryan Blaney, the single car wreck.
Yeah.
Junior literally goes on the apron to avoid it all by himself. Oh my God, it was
But he
incredible.
only finished 22nd, which
It
is
was tragic when he had that loose wheel. I think it was the left rear.
yeah, it's very bizarre for
I'm
Junior
surprised
to
he
play
didn't
track.
move up even more than he did, to be quite honest with you. But it was rough.
Well, as these guys already told you, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. grabbed his first career Cup Series win, snapping an excess of 100 race losing streak for Roush Fenway Racing, and
There's a cool story about his dad
yeah, absolutely.
trying to get down to celebrate with his son, which I think that's awesome. But I don't. Where was he that he had to try to jump a fence?
I'd be very disappointed. I know my dad listens to the show. If my dad wouldn't do that, if I was in Victory Lane, there's some serious problems.
Well, that's what it's all about. So apparently Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s dad was watching the race from the infield, and once Ricky won, his dad tried to make a beeline towards Victory Lane. The problem was he had a fence in the way.
Yeah.
He attempted to scale the fence, got caught by track security, and they attempted to kind of reel him in a little bit. He didn't have to be restrained or subdued or anything, but they kind of pulled him into the car. And when he said, I'm Ricky Stenhouse's dad, at first they really didn't believe him, and then they escorted him to Victory Lane so he could celebrate with his son. And that's what it's all
But
about.
I mean, didn't he have like a pass or something? I mean,
You have to have
I'm
a
not
bat,
sure,
yeah.
but I
Yeah,
mean,
you wear around your neck,
but I mean,
definitely.
it's so cool that somebody would want to get there so bad to celebrate with their kid after they just
I
won
think
on the
it's I
biggest
think
stage
it's
in stock
touching.
car racing.
That's awesome.
I mean, that brings you back home, and also Ricky and Victory Lane dedicating the win to his late friend Brian Clausen, which I thought was pretty cool.
Very nice.
Now, the Cup Series is going to be heading to Kansas this weekend.
Yeehaw.
And what size track is that?
8.5 miles.
Oh, yeah.
So now there is an interesting story which I want to talk about because this may relate to some of the local racers here. Because I remember when this story broke in 2009, it really ruffled a lot of feathers in the short track community. And it involves, of all people, Carl Long. Now, Carl may not get mentioned that often in racing circles, but ever since I began watching racing as a kid, Carl was the definition of a journeyman racer, right? A slogan that gets used often, but somebody who does things basically on a shoestring budget to show up to the track, try to do whatever he can, not to win, not to collect prize money, maybe to showcase a little bit of sponsorship, but to have fun. Well, in 2009, for the All-Star race, Carl Long ended up with one of the harshest penalties in the history of NASCAR. He was fined $200,000 for an engine that was 0.17 cubic inches too large for a non-points event. Carl couldn't pay the fine. In fact, he made it known that he couldn't pay the fine. And NASCAR said, well, until you do that, we're not going to allow you to come back to the Cup Series, either as an owner or a driver. And Carl elected to build some partnerships and relationships in the journeyman fashion, which he has. Got an Xfinity Series team up and running. And it was just announced this week, and this is from Bob Pockrass of ESPN.com. But MBM Motorsports will bring their number 66 Chevrolet to Kansas Speedway to compete in the Monster Energy Cup Series. Race team owner and driver Carl Long, who had been banned from competing in the NASCAR Cup Series garage since the illegal engine penalty for the All-Star Weekend in 2009, is being given the green light to return to competition. Quote, NASCAR made me an agreement so I can get over there. I'm just pleased to be able to make a living on the Cup side again, Long said. Long, who had bought the engine from a supplier and said he had no idea that it was illegal, has been working as a car owner and part-time driver in the Xfinity Series and will continue those efforts as well. He bought this Cup car from H. Scott Motorsports after last season and plans to field it pending sponsorship at this weekend's race at Kansas. Now, the 66 team is on the entry list. No driver listed, but we expect it to be Carl Long. So, can you...
Don't assume, Eric.
8 years since this penalty, and he's been able to strike up a deal to come back to the sport after not being able to pay the $200,000 fine.
Talk about love for the sport.
Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson.
You know, I mean...
You weren't expecting that.
No, but I'm glad you brought it up. I mean,
Josh knows other sports.
I didn't say it was a sport. It's a pastime.
But the thing
okay?
is, with what Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson did,
well played.
You could prove intent. I mean, Pete Rose bet on baseball. Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of the crooked White Sox who threw one of the World Series games back in the day. You can kind of prove there was intent there. With Carl Long, man, he bought this motor not knowing there was something wrong with it. It was a non-points event. I mean, you know, like I guess.
Yeah, but it was a money event too.
This is true, but I mean, 0.17 cubic inches over. I mean, is that really a big deal?
Yeah, but what about the penalty about?
0.17 inches matter anywhere in life?
Whoa.
Is it a big deal? Well, I'm just saying. Sorry, somebody had to go there.
Hold on. What the
Of
hell
all
does that
You
mean?
guys tell me to behave.
Of all people, it's usually
You
not me.
dumbasses.
But I'm just saying, like, you know,
Making pecker jokes
bragging
on our
camp, Brian.
podcast.
I never see Josh laugh this much in my life. I'm just saying, it's 0.17 cubic inches.
You haven't seen him look in the mirror.
Oh my!
Somebody help me. Let's
all right,
talk
the wheels
about
just
Carl
fell
Long
off
again.
that
Anyway,
wagon.
You know where 0.17 of an inch does matter? Formula One this week. in
No,
Spain.
we haven't even touched on the
I
Xfinity
know.
race.
I'm sorry, I got
and the
excited.
fact that
all right?
Bubble, yeah,
I got
okay. Your
excited.
Europeans can wait 2 seconds.
All right.
Jesus.
All right, hang on. What was it last year? It was last year or a couple years ago. It was fairly recent. A piston was too light by like 0.00 grams or ounces or whatever it was. I can't remember what team, what car, but there was a penalty issued for that. I mean, and it was this incredibly minuscule, like a grain of sand or two amount that the piston was too light. But where do you draw the line, black or white? You know,
Right, and that's the thing.
that's my.
I understand that there has to be a tolerance somewhere. Like the speed limit may be 45, but the cops may give you, unless you're Nick Rendo, up till 55. You know, they'll give you like a 10-mile-an-hour grace limit, but
It was all Gina's fault. Anyway,
but so I understand you got to draw the line somewhere. But does the punishment fit the crime? That's the question.
If
That's
the shoe
what I-
fits,
that's
wear
what-
it, though. And you want to know what? You have to make an example out of somebody.
damn it, Sam.
But they pick. but and
Am
But
I wrong?
First of all,
200,000 for that's a little.
I'm incredibly now. He says he made an agreement with NASCAR to return. I'm incredibly curious as to what this agreement is, because to revert back on an 8-year-old penalty that essentially had him banned from the sport till he paid the fine up front.
He wasn't
They'll
banned.
take it out of his winnings.
And he was allowed to compete in the Xfinity Series. He did
Yep.
make a few starts there as well. And I'm happy to see him back in a Cup car, which it looks like he painted up similar to the car that he had in 2009 when the penalty broke.
Oh,
I'll
that's
show
a
you the
nice
compare and
little
contrast.
FU to.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see him coming back. It this seemed like one of those things that really upset a lot of the grassroots type of fans who were deep within the sport. Nick, are you smelling yourself?
Sorry.
Like what? No, I'm not doing that on
It
camera.
smells like
buddy.
live show.
It smells good. It smells good.
There goes the podcast.
You know what does smell? What am I wearing, guys?
What?
My RPM podcast hoodie. It smells good.
No, but we should have an RPM podcast fragrance.
Oh,
Like a men's cologne.
RPM 1.
I'm glad I'm on this side of the table.
Elliot
Thanks,
Wall.
Obama.
That's going to be the next thing he's going to have to do after he makes our
Cologne.
hats. It's going to be the fragrance.
We're going to need a chemist.
We need to reorder some shirts. We sold out of
Yes, yeah.
a couple sizes.
Yeah,
I think
great,
two sizes.
really great problem to have.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
So happy.
Anyway, there was an Xfinity race. I get that car long's important, but Bubba Wallace did not finish 6th this weekend at Talladega.
Oh, dang
He
it.
finished 4th.
So what does that tie in with?
Well, there's no Illuminati. There's no NASCAR Illuminati out there.
Oh, that means that's it? It's over and done with? The fact that he's done finishing 6th or 33rd in every race this season?
Yeah.
Okay. But wait, where is he in points now? I got to look that
So
up.
wait, when does the Illuminati return for like qualifying for the 500? Or?
It might. It
it'll-
was just
it'll be in the
it was a
All-Star
lot of
race or
numerical
something.
statistics.
I'm trying to
that kinda
bail
led
you out of that
themselves.
crappy conversation we just got into.
What about fragrance?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it
not that
was-
bad.
It was
no, it's pretty
amusing.
good. I'm thinking like $64.99 for the 18 ounce.
Oh,
You're setting price points already?
I mean, yeah, $42.39 for like the 12 ounce.
This is why Nick is a
so
fantastic
anyway,
businessman.
I know we announced some at the live show, but were we announcing our suicide pool picks, or were we just announcing who we
Both.
thought? You
I,
did
yeah,
both?
I was picking who I thought would actually win the race.
Josh, who did I say, or what manufacturer did I say was going to win the race?
You said Ford.
I did, and I was right.
Yeah. Although you said it was going to be a Penske day, Nick.
Wasn't that far off. You had the right emblem, just wrong team.
Speaking of
Very true.
penalties, Penske's been got hit fairly hard recently. What I don't understand, and I want to talk to you guys about this. Maybe I didn't tell you guys this in a second because I just remembered it. What's this whole crap with the crew chiefs being penalized, but still being able to talk to them over the phone when they're not at the track?
Well, how could you police that? That would be my issue. Is like you can only go so far.
Okay, but they openly said, "Oh, by the way, Pete, was it Wolf?
Paul Wolf.
Paul Wolf. My
Yeah,
apologies.
Paul.
Paul Wolf is going to be on the phone.
Who?
I thought it was Toto.
Someone
I'm
who we
sorry.
interviewed last time at the chapter house, who I can't remember who it was, but he worked with Ray Everham and Paul Wolf.
Tommy Lane.
Yeah. Yes,
He worked
yes.
with Paul Wolf too. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, no. Well, that's when you break those penalties, right? There's only so much that you can do to restrict access for one guy to get to an entire race team and organization. Now,
Look,
how
if our
effective-
little podcast can take phone calls in and mix it with our headsets and all that, it's
It's
not that difficult for people who
just
have
But
that
it's
much money
convenience.
at their disposal.
Then what's the point of
well, how
suspending
how
him?
effective and
principle
how much
of
of a cheerleader could Paul Wolf really be if he's a couple hundred miles away and not there at the
Pete
actual
McDonald did a
racetrack?
fantastic
whoa,
job on the
hang
show
on.
last week, and he wasn't here.
Yes. How? What?
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm gonna blow Sam away right now. Okay.
Do it.
Sam.
Go ahead. I'm
scared.
listening.
I'm
all right,
scared.
How is he How is he going to know what's going on at the track? Either the people at the track need to tell him what's going on, or he has to watch the TV feed. Now, if he does that, you already have a 7-second delay built in. So think about it. Well, that's a standard,
Yeah, wow.
dump for somebody that curses or whatever like that. And they'll try to
Right.
bring it live, and sometimes they miss it. But the whole point is there's at least 7 seconds from the time. So he comes on pit road, and then as a crew chief, you might go, "Oh no, we're doing 2 tires now." You don't have enough time from the time you're seeing it to relay it.
I
to-
understand where you guys are coming from, but do you understand where I'm coming from?
He can still make a bunch of calls, but there are calls that you really need to be there to make.
I agree.
It's not going to be instant enough, and that is a penalty because sometimes it comes down to those last minute, no, fuel only, screw it, and try to beat them out. Because if you also are watching the TV feed, like I said, And I'm saying it weird. I don't know why. You only say, oh, they're going to focus on these 3 cars. You can't look over and see who's coming or whoa, you know.
And the people who I don't think get enough credit in NASCAR is when you look at a team like Hendrick, maybe not so much Roush, but like Penske and stuff. I mean, they have like 50 engineers back at North Carolina. You know, it's not
But
just
you
the
wanna know
crew
what?
chief making these calls.
Ford has
At
made a
all.
huge comeback this year, and my cousin Graham and I, we spoke about this, and I really do think people underestimated the fact that Haas Racing was switching over from Chevy to Ford. They have look at the F1 side. You can't tell me that he doesn't have that for the Cup team. He does.
Of course, yeah.
And think besides Penske, all the other Ford teams are kind of together, and they've been kicking ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Stewart Haas has been kind of underperforming for the most part out of the Ford group, but I would say
Well,
that
what are
all
they
the-
doing sponsor-wise? Because right now there's just a big Haas on the hood.
Well, that's for a couple cars. They do have a couple.
It
like
was
Harvick's
demo
full-
day.
Yeah. But Sam, you bring up a great point. Okay, so
what I'm here to do.
Haas may not be the premier, Ford team right now because Penske appears to have the edge, and in fact, some may argue that Roush is kind of competing with the success that we've seen Stewart Haas have. Because aside from the Daytona 500 win for Kurt, they really haven't done that much. But all those resources and tools that are available to the rest of the Ford emblem, I mean, Haas has it. They have all of it. Like Sam said, Haas is a Formula One team.
Thank you.
They could do whatever they want to do and just put it all together. And if they elect to share it, great. But that's the only thing that has gotten me a little bit with Ford and the Ford Cup teams. Penske and Roush never really seemed to be willing to link up and work together on the Cup side. I'm wondering if that would change once Stewart Haas got into the picture and they made the big jump and Ford threw them all that it's not confirmed, but it sounds like there was an exchange of some money or dollar amount or value that went into that happening. So maybe they kind of forced their hand a little bit, putting all of their eggs into one basket, if you will. I don't know. We're gonna have to see how it all plays out.
I agree. I don't follow those stories as much as I do more the actual driving racing aspect. So I'm just gonna go. Sure, why not?
That'll work. I'll take it.
I'm sorry. I just
Well, regardless, as much as great segue here, as much as Formula One has been a manufactured toss-up these past few weeks between Ferrari and Mercedes.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's fantastic.
We're already up to the 5th race of the season.
Let me work on my segue, damn it. It's fantastic.
You're stumbling.
It's fantastic. No, I'm not quick enough for Nick Rendo here. It's fantastic to see Ford and Chevy and Toyota battle it out. And if anything, Toyota's been slacking. So
all right.
tune in this
I'll take
coming
your word
week.
for it.
Kansas. Yellow Brick Road.
That's
Mile and a
actually
half though.
It's still Yellow Brick Road, Josh. All right,
Well,
whatever.
yeah. Speaking of Toto, we already mentioned 2. Let's mention 3.
Well, you said Kansas is a Saturday night race, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, the truck series
Right.
comes back
Are
after
you
like one
gonna
of their
be,
1 month
Right.
layoffs to race
Well,
on Friday.
Are you going to be playing with a film video camera again?
No. That was like a one-off. I just don't really want people to stay up too late on Saturday night just because they have to wake up early Sunday morning from Barcelona. So.
Which we're going to talk about when we
Yeah,
come back to the
there we are.
RPM podcast. One more segment to
Oh,
go.
You
We'll
know
talk about some
who lives
Oklahoma
there?
stuff.
Who lives there?
Who lives where?
Shakira.
Oh, I just know the Ed Sheeran song, Barcelona.
No kidding. Oh,
George
is it good?
Ezra, Barcelona is fantastic.
All right, this is Eric Graham from the RPM Podcast. Josh and Eric Brennan won't leave me alone until I do one of these read things. So, follow us at Facebook. Either search RPM Podcast, go to facebook.com/Racing Podcast New Jersey. Hopefully this sounds freaking organic enough for Josh because he won't leave me the hell alone about it. But here's your read. Follow us on Facebook. Do it now.
Nick Rendo has to do a read.
He does.
He does.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to. Just maybe not
Yeah,
tonight.
Actually, you know what? This tonight
I'm
actually
shocked.
might be the night because
Why not?
We're
We're
going
gonna
to
be
finish
here.
on F1.
I'm so tired.
He's going to be so pumped.
Sure. Sure.
He has no idea.
The testosterone
I just got the
will
deer
be
in the headlights
flowing.
look.
I'm down. All right. Was that my little cue? Is
No,
that what you
no. I
guys-
said we're going to finish on F1. We have a bunch
Oh,
more.
ooh, ooh.
Yeah, no. We're holding you to the end.
Ooh.
Welcome back to the RPM podcast. Josh Matthews, Sam Ballard Jr., Nick Rendo. I'm Eric Brennan.
Hi, guys.
Oh.
Oh my God, I'm so tired. Just because we talked about it in tease, you guys see the end of the 250 Supercross
I
season?
did not see it yet. I really want to, though. I just haven't been, home. I've been busy, breaking down equipment.
You got to check it out. It's
and
unbelievable.
I heard he crashed.
Well, Zach Osborne went down in the first. There were 4 drivers who had a shot at the 250 East Championship. I believe it was Jordan Smith who had the point lead. Then it was Joey Savacci, Zach Osborne, Adam Cianciarulo. Ciarulo needed a lot of things to go his way, and it almost happened. Zach Osborne goes down the first corner. Joey Savacci goes down. We're running in the top 5. Jordan Smith nearly goes
Really,
down.
Nick?
Then he crashes hard halfway through the race while the championship appeared to be in his grasp. Cianciarulo's running away with the thing, and I think at one point he was only 1 point behind Savacci, his teammate. And then all Osborne and Savacci had to do when they got high enough in the top 10 was just beat each other. And they came down to 2 corners to go. Osborne sailed in there, essentially took out Savacci, got around him, and took a very emotional championship.
Wait, took him out bumped him
On
or
a dinner date.
He
or
kind of
took
slammed him.
All right, but did he knock him down?
Yes. You have to see it. But it was amazing stuff. It was so riveting. And then in the 450 main event, Dungey and Eli Tomac ended up just throwing down on one another for the entire 20-minute race. And although Tomac needed some help, while him and Dungey were wrestling on the last lap, Anderson got by them both and ended up winning, and Dungey got the championship. Great stuff. Great
that's
stuff.
awesome.
The Supercross season was amazing. We thought once Ken Roxon went down that Dungey would lock everything up. It came all the way down
I
to the
can't
last
believe
lap
it's
of the last
over
race.
already. It feels like
Yeah.
it just started. I
And
mean,
it-
I know it's a little. I know it's very physically demanding. I mean, I've ridden a dirt bike for years, and that's just farting around on the farm and whatever, like trail riding. That's not these wild jumps, and it's just insane what these guys do. I mean, they are actually some of the most physically fit athletes, and I was like, how can they be? I mean, they're riding a motorized, with what their knees alone have to put up with those jumps. And then you look at these wrecks. They have when they fall off, and how many bones they break. It's absolutely amazing that they're able to do what they do.
If you go to Speed Motors on Fox's YouTube channel, you can see the finish and recaps to both races. But, man, just an incredible Supercross season. Now they're getting ready for outdoors. That's good stuff. Also, it's the month of May, which means that stuff in Indianapolis is about to kick off, and that includes this coming weekend where the Grand Prix of Indianapolis on the road course will take place for the Verizon IndyCar Series season. And, Nick, Formula One is back.
Should IndyCar put a chicane in that turn?
Which one?
No. The last one? Absolutely not.
I'm busting chops. Nick gets it now.
LOL.
No, nothing.
You know who doesn't laugh a lot?
I don't know
Kimi
what it
Räikkönen.
means.
Kimi doesn't laugh a lot.
No, back when the last time Formula One ran at Indy, when they had that tire issue, they were begging for the track or whoever to put a small chicane in.
Oh, in like
There you go.
IndyCar Turn 1, but it was the last corner for Formula One? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was the. Thank you, Nick, for getting
It was
that.
12 years ago. That.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
10. Yeah. No, yeah.
It was 2005.
When that happened?
Yeah.
Okay,
when
so
that-
they were actually racing there until I think 2007, I want to say.
Did they race? I thought that was the end of it. After that
because
whole
there's a
incident.
very famous battle of Alonso and Hamilton when they were
Okay.
both on McLaren. Incredible stuff. So
he gets so excited.
so pumped. All right, so I'm gonna start off by quoting 3-time champion Niki Lauda. The season starts in Barcelona because
Did you know that Niki Lauda actually signed that letter that went to Billy Munger?
Oh,
really
he did.
That's good.
Yeah, it was him. There's a beautiful video. I mean, that kid, he turned 18 while in the hospital after having his legs amputated.
Yeah, after
and
the-
he's
after
in
the Big F4
such great
crash.
spirits. I mean, it's amazing how well he's doing. I mean, it's mentally more
we were
than
just talking
anything.
about that on Sunday. Yeah, definitely.
It's just absolutely crazy. I mean, I'm glad he's alive after
Yeah.
that wreck, and he's determined to get back in a car and race again. And I mean, after seeing people like Alex Zanardi, and even after what Niki Lauda's been through,
Yeah.
to see people get back in a car and still be involved, and he wants to do it again.
Competitive. Yeah.
But he got this basically kind of a get weld card, and a bunch of past champions like from Formula One.
yeah,
and all
Felipe,
that.
everybody.
Yeah.
Who wasn't on there? Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
exactly. But that they were able to get to everybody and do that is, and
Yeah,
the everybody wants to help this kid,
of course.
and I just think that's awesome. So, Billy, because we hope you listen to the show, please get well soon. We're pulling for you, and I mean we're looking forward to seeing you back in the car as soon as you can do it.
Definitely.
I just want to get that
Yeah,
out of the way.
no,
'cause,
that's incredible. And yeah, so Niki Lauda said that he believes the start of the season will be at the Spanish Grand Prix, and we hear that every year just because right before the Spanish Grand Prix is when all the teams bring massive improvements to the cars. You have Red Bull, who are unleashing their B-Spec chassis, which is going to be their attempt to narrow the gap to the leading duo of Ferrari and Mercedes. I don't know. I feel like, Adrian Newey is a genius. I think their car works very well. It's very well on tires. It's just, power-wise, Renault just doesn't have it together. And I don't see that, just changing over 2 weeks right there for upgrades. Mercedes is actually lightening their car because they feel that weight is a big factor. So they're doing.
Do they think that has to do with the tire issue?
I don't think so. But
do they want to get a Ferrari grip knob on their steering wheel?
I'm sure they'll probably network some kind of illegal tire test like they did in 2013.
Damn, Nick.
Yeah, well, that's
Tell
the
us
kind
how
of
you
people
really
they
feel.
are. Ferrari's also going to bring some more aerodynamic upgrades, which can't wait to see because they can already sit on the
Sam,
gearbox
is that
of the car.
Ferrari crashing into a hay bale?
What?
No.
Not cool, guys.
Sadly, that's not Seb.
No, I'm sorry. Sam is actually editing I guess a new background for
For YouTube.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
the Tuba-Yube.
Yeah, and he's putting a Ferrari car on the far right with some motocross in the towards the center.
I did that to appease Nick.
No, and it's going to look fantastic, folks.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
the silver.
but the
Mercedes one looked
placement
good.
of
I
it-
wouldn't listen to it if.
The placement of it is the way the hay bales are lined on the outside of the motocross picture. It looks like the Ferrari's stuffing its nose in.
That's terrible. But yeah, no. So it should be an incredible race. I mean, we're already up to the 5th race out of 20,
And
there's
what
still,
are you talking about with the water?
There's still no clear
Water?
winner, leader, anything in constructor or driver. Incredible. I'm talking about the water. It's Barcelona.
Mhm.
The beach is just incredible. The Circuit de Catalunya is right there.
Do you want to go?
To Barcelona?
Yeah.
That would be a bucket list race. Absolutely. I would have to go to Monza just to see the passion, the drive, the destiny of the Ferrari in front of the
Damn, Nick, you're so
home
deep.
Tifosi. So that would be up there. Monaco, you have to do it. You got to do it. I would say Canada, but hey, I'm going in June to do the 4th time. I can't. But no, Barcelona definitely. Yeah, it's up there.
all right, hang on. Answer me this though.
Yes, I
with
will.
Monaco,
Yeah.
can you?
Yes.
Let's say you go. Let's say you actually, can
Oh, we're
Can you
going.
afford a
Gi-
burger on
give
the
it-
side of the street? Probably not. Yeah, it's so expensive.
all right,
Everything
yeah.
is so expensive.
We
Yes.
take a loan out on my 401k and we're going to Monaco.
I'm
That's
down.
gonna
All right,
happen.
but my question is,
Yeah.
outside of where can you see anything?
Probably just like a little sliver
Okay.
of
oh,
the
car.
track that you're. Yeah, that's pretty much what it'd be like. I'm actually really lucky because the tickets that we get in Canada are it's called the Senna Trio, and you get 3 different grandstands. So the opening, you get practice in the hairpin turn, so you see them just accelerating up to you almost 200 miles an hour, slamming on the brakes, down the gears, down the second gear, quick right turn. Then you see them accelerate right out. I always see Kimmy spin every year. It's incredible, and I throw my hands up. I'm like, why is he still here? Like, when are we gonna fire him? It's ridiculous, ridiculous.
You're
That-
really loud today.
It's just ridiculous. Then for qualifying, we're right on the front stretch where you see the cars, doing the last minute Q3 setups and like mind games and when they're going out and who they're following and whatnot. The race they were right in turn
I want to start a survivor
turns
pool
1 and 2. It's
of sorts.
incredible. Right by pit lane exit
for Formula
Oh
One,
my
and I'm going to
God.
make sure Nick gets Julian Palmer every week.
Actually, I saw last year the Seagulls that Seb was saying cost them the victory. We had to lift for a second. Oh man, that's incredible. And then, and here's the best part. Here's the best part. After all the cars are off the track, they open up the fence. Everybody runs down the track, and we all get to see the podium. Like you sprint. It's incredible. It's like no holds barred. I mean, you see all these prim people in like these button-down shirts and stuff, but they're ripping at each other, trying to run. I'll put a GoPro on my chest, I think, with the RPM logo, and then we have like SR Fabrications and everything of me just running to the podium.
I could listen to Nick talk about Formula
Oh
One
my
all
God.
night.
It's
I love your
incredible.
passion, but
Oh,
I'm
dude.
kind of
This is
worried.
infectious. Like,
Actually, you want to know something even really, really cool? On Thursday, they open it, and you're allowed in pit lane when you do the driver meet and greet and whatnot. And Mercedes put their pit lane wall on some kind of like test simulation. Everybody got to sit in the seats that like Total Wolff and Patty Lowe and all these people sit in, and they had like a race simulation going on. So you actually see what they see when the race is going on. Incredible stuff. They have like the live feed. They have a live track map that Eric Brennan's watching baseball on. They have like all that stuff.
Called out.
Mad cool.
Sorry.
Mad cool. Mad cool.
I got the Diamondbacks tonight.
But yeah, so Sunday
I
morning,
really-
definitely be there.
I really want to hit that Formula E race in Brooklyn coming up.
Oh, we gotta go to that.
I
Got to.
really think we
Nick,
should.
We need Sam to go to the Summer Nationals when I'm actually in Canada. I really wanted to take him because I told him, and you know
in,
this.
in
I told him
Englishtown?
that there's no feeling of your heart vibrating than when a funny car or Top Fuel hits the throttle. It's incredible. The
Oh, it
grandstands
is,
that you're
yeah.
on feel like they're gonna fall. There's no feeling like it.
All right.
And
And then as soon as they finish, all the car alarms going off in the parking lot. It's
that happens for real.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
No,
That's not even a joke. It's
yeah.
incredible.
He
Yeah.
compared it to something else, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
I mean, when you're in the pits and one of those cars is warming up, you can't even breathe. It's awesome. It like closes up your throat. Your eyes start tearing. It's like being in a gas. Well, all right, never mind.
Then you open
Because,
your
like,
eyes and you realize you're at the dentist.
I didn't realize like the world that we live in.
Never mind.
But yeah, no, it's not what I meant. But it's incredible. Definitely incredible. Yeah. So
I can't believe this is
that's,
going
that's
on
my
right now.
segment.
Does that mean you're not coming on then?
I guess not.
Anyway, speaking of drag racing, because I'm going to try to bail this out here, they were at the Southern Nationals. Fantastic race. If you guys don't watch drag racing, I'm kind of getting
I
into
think I
it
just
now.
ruined my political career.
Well, no, never mind. Anyway, it was a fantastic event. I'm going to post the results of the NHRA because we're running out of time via our Facebook. And while we're talking about our Facebook, because it seems like it's the Sam Ballard RPM podcast here right now with Josh Matthews, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/racingpodcastnj. We're also on Twitter at Racing Podcast NJ, and we're also on Instagram at RPM Podcast, SoundCloud, iTunes, and check out the Tuba U because we're on that with our new banner, and we're going to really push for the social media campaign. It's going to be huge.
Well, you've been handling the Twitter like a pro. I mean,
Global
I
Rallycross.
don't even have a Twitter yet. I'm going to have to get one just for.
We got to tweet to you guys. So once I'm done babysitting, I really look forward to actually tweet live on the show and take your guys' questions. But as of now, Nick's too busy telling us what he does at racetracks.
And Brennan's too busy giggling like a little schoolgirl.
You know what? Am I back? Okay. Once, I'm like a little kid sometimes. If I'm tired, and work has just been brutal. If I'm tired and somebody gets me giggling, I can't stop. I just can't stop. And that's what just happened. So Nick, thank you. I was in awe over how you were,
that was not a joke.
like even when you were explaining when you sit at the Canadian Grand Prix and they come into the
my
corner, they get
God.
hot on the brakes, they're down on the even in this
Oh.
thing where you said like they're like shit
Yeah,
down and
no,
stuff.
from 8th to 2. Oh. It was like
8th to 2? You mean second?
That's how the Italians count.
And you know what's else is
True.
incredible? When they lock up the tires, I mean, you don't on the live feed, you don't hear it, you just see it. But I mean, when you're there and you just hear, it's like whoa, like you don't even realize.
Can you do that again?
Sounds like you're having a
Like
stroke.
whenever like Max comes in, it's incredible. You guys are
Can you make the sound of a dying giraffe?
four more weeks. I'm gonna be there, and I will definitely do some live something for this show.
I can't wait. I don't even know what to say. My goodness, we're all a little bit hungover from the.
Wait a minute.
The chat.
Wait a minute.
What?
By all we mean Eric Brennan.
I don't mean literally hungover.
75% of the show.
You're including Nick in this.
I am, because what he said and the noises he's making on this podcast right now kind of make me think that you guys Bill Cosby'd him at the chapter house.
I think it's time to end.
All right, before we go, what have we learned today, guys?
No.
Eric?
I learned that Nick Rendo's really good at making tire squealing noises.
I was going to say I know what tires locking up sounds like in F1.
Yeah.
And I also learned what Nick did on Saturday night.
Yeah. Sam.
I've learned that almost 5,000 people have downloaded our show since the beginning.
Wow,
Wow.
really?
Oh my gosh, guys! Don't you guys
The
read
stats,
Josh's
we-
text messages?
I
No.
learned that the chapter house has amazing food and Wall is pretty damn cool. I had a blast there.
The racetrack.
Do you think we?
Wait, you just went on and on about F1. And you're like,
No, I had a
you,
blast at
you
Wall.
don't even bring up.
I didn't learn anything
You
new.
didn't bust a
If
wall?
anything, I gave value about F1. I mean, I didn't really learn anything yet, but yeah. So yeah.
All right, guys. On that note,
On that note, for Josh Matthews, Sam
That
Ballard
frightens
Jr.,
me more than Two
Eric
Girls, One Cup.
Brennan,
Nick,
and
tell you.
myself, Nick Rendo, this has been the RPM podcast. Go to Wall.
Well, you went to Wall, so yeah, go to Wall.